Summary of Canto 3, Chapter 8, Manifestation of Brahma. So, in the previous chapter, we saw that Vidura said he will gain knowledge by serving Maitreya. But then in this chapter, Maitreya first responds to Vidura, saying that Vidura himself is actually very, very special, and Maitreya is indeed very fortunate to get the association of Vidura. So, Maitreya said, he told Vidura, "You are born in the dynasty of King Puru, and all of Puru's descendants are very devoted to the Supreme Lord. Because of your attempt, the garland of the Lord's glories are becoming newer and newer every moment." So, I will now speak to you the Bhagavatam, which was directly spoken by Bhagavan to the great sages for the benefit of people who have entered the great suffering to get a little happiness. The disciplic succession of the Srimad Bhagavatam, as received by Maitreya. He said, "Some time ago, the sages headed by Sanat Kumara enquired from Lord Shankarsana, who was situated below Patala Loka, about the truths regarding Vasudeva. Lord Sankarsana was meditating on Lord Vasudeva, but for the sake of the sages, he slightly opened his lotus-like eyes and he began to speak. These sages, they had come through the Ganges, from the higher planets down to the lower planets, and touched the lotus feet of the Lord. The sages glorified the Lord in rhythmic accents with selected words, full of affection and love. From Lord Shankarsana, the knowledge was transmitted to Sanat Kumara, from Sanat Kumara to Sankyayana Muni, from him to Parashara and Brihaspati, and from there it was relayed to Maitreya Rishi. So, after explaining the descent of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Maitreya now starts the description of the reawakening of creation after the end of the night of Brahma. When the universe was submerged in the dissolution waters at the end of Brahma's previous day, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu was lying on the bed of Ananta, enjoying his internal potency with his eyes half closed. The Lord contained within himself all the living entities who remained in their subtle bodies by the dint of energy called as Kala. He laid down for 1,000 yuga cycles of one night of Brahma and then glanced on the subtle bodies of the living entities within him. By his Kala Shakti, he started to develop their fruitive activities. The Lord's glance agitated the subtle subject matter of creation that contains the elements in subtle state and subtle bodies and the aggregate of the fruitive activities of the living entities with a mode of passion, and it sprouted through his abdomen and it took the shape of a lotus bud and illuminated everything like the sun. In the case of a full dissolution of the universe, which happens at the end of the life of Brahma, the material energy is completely wound up. In the case of a partial dissolution that happens at the end of the day of Brahma, only the gross bodies of the jivas become unmanifest, while their subtle bodies and their karmas merge within the body of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu along with the elements in their subtle form. They become reawakened with the glance of the Lord and they sprout from his navel. So this should be noted. Now, the birth of Brahma. So Lord Vishnu entered that lotus flower and impregnated it with the modes. Then Brahma, known as the self-born Swayambhu, was born. Brahma, situated on the center of the lotus, could not see the world. While moving his eyes in 4 directions to see, he obtained 4 heads. Now Brahma could not perfectly understand this creation and the lotus and himself. Brahma's bewilderment about the creation revealed that it was very difficult to understand the mystery of the creation by material speculation, by mental speculation, and Brahma's power to create is not his own, but it was actually coming from the Lord. So Brahma became very desperate in his search for the absolute truth. Brahma contemplated, he thought, who am I? Who am I situated on this lotus? Where from has this lotus sprouted? There must be something from which it is originating. So Brahma entered the lotus stem. He went closer to the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, but still he couldn't trace out the root. So, this shows that personal endeavors are not sufficient for success. One needs to have the Lord's mercy and sanction to be successful. While searching in that way, Lord Brahma's duration of life was decreasing by the influence of time. So, giving up his unsuccessful search, Brahma came back on top of the lotus and he concentrated his mind on the Lord. After 100 human years of meditation, he could see the Lord in his heart, which was not possible for him earlier. Brahma's giving up his personal endeavors and taking to meditation on the Lord is a sign of self surrender. This was inspired by the Lord's mercy. This is very important for us to understand. Brahma could see on the water the gigantic white body of Seshanag upon which the Lord Garbhodakshay Vishnu was lying alone. The jewels on the hoods of Seshanag was illuminating in all directions. Garbhodakshay Vishnu was looking extremely beautiful. His bodily luster was like coral mountain. His yellowish garments were like the evening sky. His helmet, bedecked with jewels, was marked by the beauty of a golden summit of the mountain. His limbs with ornaments, tulasi and garlands were like a mountain with waterfalls, herbs and other things. The grandeur of the Lord's body was self-illuminated, well-ornamented and unlimited in length and breadth, and it occupied the 3 planetary systems. Lord Krishna mercifully showed one lotus foot that awards all desired fruits of pure bhakti. His splendorous moon-like toenails appeared like the petals of a lotus flower. The Lord acknowledged the service of his devotees by his beautiful smile that vanquishes the distresses of his devotees. His face was so pleasing with its beautiful nose, eyebrows and rays from the lips and earrings. The yellow cloth resembled the saffron dust of Kadamba. His waist was encircled by a well-decorated belt. His chest marked the Srivatsa, and an unlimitedly valuable necklace was hanging from his neck. Garbhodakshay Vishnu was compared to a sandalwood tree. The valuable jewels and pearls on the arms of Garbhodakshay Vishnu were like fragrant flowers and branches of the sandalwood tree. The Lord is the origin of all others in the universe, and this is like a self-situated tree whose roots cannot be seen. He is the protector of the whole world, just like how the sandalwood tree is the king of all trees, and he is covered by many hoods of Ananta, just like how a sandalwood tree is covered by many snakes. Next, the Lord is compared to a great mountain. The shelter of all moving and non-moving living entities is Garbhodakshay Vishnu, just like a great mountain, which is the shelter of all creatures on that mountain. Lord Ananta, his friend, is present there. And just like how the mountain is a friend of the snakes, thousands of golden helmeted hoods of Ananta was present, just like how a mountain has thousands of golden peaks. He was decorated with valuable jewels, just like how a mountain is filled with valuable jewels. Sometimes he was submerged in the water of devastation, just like how a mountain is sometimes submerged half inside the ocean. Seeing that the Lord was being glorified with Vedic wisdom by the garlands on his chest, surrounded by his weapons and associates and unapproachable by the Devatas, Brahma concluded that this is indeed Lord Hari after seeing this wonderful beauty of Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Then Brahma started thinking about his service to the Lord. Brahma could see only 5 factors: the lotus in the Lord's navel, the Lord's navel himself, devastating water, drying air, and the sky with its ingredients for creation. So, being surcharged with the mode of passion, Lord Brahma began to offer beautiful, respectful obeisances on the path of creative mentality, trying to ask help from the Lord so that he could begin creation. So the next chapter will be about Lord Brahma's prayers for the creative impetus. This ends the summary of Canto 3, Chapter 8, Manifestation of Lord Brahma. Hare Krishna.